hot, rich, fuckable. We're about to do that. Rory actually walks out from the gym and walks past us, and I'm like, does he know we're making a joke about him? And he goes, oh, it's the viral consultant. Like, my brain's like, you watched our dumb video? And then,
I love that.
And then after the starstruck, my brain goes, oh shit, you heard us make fun of you and our What just happened to me? That's Rory McIlroy. He just talked to me. So.
Today on the Scratch Golf Show, we feature one of the funniest people in golf, Hannah Asleason from St. Andre Golf. Now, she most recently went viral for the viral consultant video that she did with the DP World Tour. It was one of the best pieces of content that's been made this year. It was hilarious. She gets into the behind the scenes of that, shares some great stories, so make sure you stick around to the end. If you're new here to the Scratch Golf Show, welcome to the channel. My name is Marco. We mainly focus on interview style videos with people in the YouTube golf space, as well as all around the world of golf, like caddies, CEOs, and tour players. If you could do me a favor, hit that subscribe button below. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the start of the Masters this April. Like the video, leave a comment for your favorite part, and enjoy the interview with him. Another interview here on the Scratch Golf Show, guys. We're very excited to welcome Hannah Asleason from St. Andre Golf, somebody I think is one of the funniest people in golf. We've had James Lynch on, so we've dipped kind of our feet into the comedy pool, but Hannah, very excited to welcome you to the show. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Can I get a clip of that, of you saying I'm funnier than James Lynch? Because I personally will need that. That'll help me.
So, funny or not, believe it or not, when I had James back on in I think it was early November, and he said you guys were his favorite creator from a comedy standpoint. So, love to see some kind of collab if you guys would ever want to do something with him. I think James is hilarious, and I'm personally a big fan of golf comedy. So, I love what you guys do at St. Andre. You guys are hilarious, and so is James. James is an awesome dude.
Thank you. Thank you. He really is. He's also very, very funny. So that's why I feel I'm like, if I could get that soundbite to hang, I feel like he'd love it. Just send him a DM being like, this is crazy. Inside scoop. But no, James is very funny, and he's just so charming too. For sure. He's one of the nicest dudes I've ever had on. Anyway, I guess, Hannah, do you want to introduce yourself? Obviously, I'm very familiar with your content at St. Andre, but talk to me a little bit about just who you are and how you got into the golf content space. Cool. Yeah. Like you said, I'm Hannah. Golf is a unique space for me, as if people know or don't know. St. Andre's been around about 2 years now, which is also kind of the same amount of time I've been a golf sicko, as I want to call it. I got into golf really heavily because of St. Andre and work. I was a comedian first and foremost and an actor.
Okay.
Aaron was a mutual friend. We had worked together on some digital stuff for commercials in the past, and just had good chemistry. We're good friends, and he always says that he reached out to me about St. Andre. This is so funny because I'll ask him, I'm like, why did you pick me? And he said, he's like, it's because I thought I could sell you as an actual athlete more than other people, which I'm like, I'll take that. That's a compliment. So yeah, I grew up around golf. I actually worked at a country club back in Minnesota forever. So I knew golf. I just truthfully didn't really love it. I was like, what is the point? 5 hours out there? That seems so boring. And now I'm like, I'll do anything. I'll do anything to do it.
You're hooked. Yeah. Do you play a lot of golf?
Yeah. I mean, I want to play all the time. If weather permits, I'm trying to get out there at least twice, you know, but it's also fun because I have the unique advantage that golfing is also work.
Right.
But
it
is true. You think about the fact that sometimes going out there, playing golf is really good inspiration for sketches. We all have the stuff that we think about, but stuff will happen on the golf course. And as a writer and a comedian, my brain's always in how to make this funny mode. So sometimes it's you're just out there and you're like, oh, that's what if we did, you know what I mean? So sometimes being physically playing can help me kind of creatively get the juices flowing.
No, for sure. I respect that.
Don't make that weird. Getting the juices flowing. Don't make that weird, please.
No, I won't. Completely understand. Speaking of kind of Aaron, and for those who don't know Aaron, he's, I would say is he the bald? I know, obviously I know him, but I'm trying to think of a way to describe him. The bald guy from St. Andre or the bigger guy. Aaron is awesome. I think he's hilarious.
I'm also going to need you to clip that, the bald one.
For sure.
I'm going to need you to clip that.
Sure.
me.
I can't talk. I'm balding too, so I'm not one. I can hide a little better, but I'm also married, so my wife doesn't really care. So
hey, bald is beautiful. We say it every day on set. Aaron, bald is beautiful.
Love that. Speaking of kind of like on set and process, like I'm curious how, obviously we had James on and I asked him kind of what his process is like filming and coming up with ideas. So talk to me a little bit about your guys' process. You guys have some great, sketches, whether it be the Bryson one, Delito Burrito or whatever. I mean, think of it, whatever. I guess, what is your guys' process like from writing, acting, editing perspective? What does that look like for like kind of a group, from like a group perspective for you guys?
Yeah, huge testament to Aaron. St. Andre is Aaron's baby. And what's so great about working with him is he's so intentional. Like when I started working with him, I knew I wanted to keep working with him because he knew going into the get-go what his vision was, right? Yeah. He was very much like, I want to curate sketches. There's always a beginning, middle, and end, like the button. So, he's very formulaic with his comedy, which is great. Yeah. And that's kind of transitioned into now in the writing process. He does the majority of the writing. Okay. But he and I also have like a Google Doc, and we're always just throwing ideas in there.
That's awesome.
And so it's like kind of this long document where we'll just like throw something in there. Or sometimes he hates this. Aaron is anti-voice message, and I love voice message. But I'll be like, oh, what if this great idea? So it's kind of just a podge. But usually there's a Google Doc. We'll pick things from there that he likes. And sometimes might be like, hey, do you want to write this? What do you think about this? And he's just so creative. Like coming up with music videos for golf. I've never seen that before. And it's just so fun. So a lot of it is a testament to him and his writing, but also the fact that when we get on set, he's such a good director because he gives us a lot of space to play within like our voices. And Jonathan as well. Jonathan's such a talented actor and a comedian as well. So he'll kind of be like, he kind of just lets it rip. He has like a very loose, he has like a loose script, and he'll kind of look at me and be like, he's like, make it Hannah, do the Hannah thing. And I'm like, got it.
Love
Make
that.
it insane. Yeah.
Do you guys is all of your sketches or like even any type of content scripted? Do you do any sort of like improv or anything?
I mean, the Bryson sketch was a pretty heavily improvised. Like there were some, Aaron had, that's what was so fun about letting me kind of be Hannah is Aaron had like a couple lines, and that's what I love is him as a director. He's not like, this is how you have to say it. He trusts me and gives me a lot of space. So he had like a list of some things to touch on. So I was like, okay, cool, I can do that. He's like, but otherwise just like let it rip. And I'm like, okay, great. We're going to 100. So we can kind of, he's good at setting the tone. If we understand the tone of direction, then within that, I'm kind of like, okay, cool. I think what I love to do is if I understand the assignment, I can kind of
for sure
take it to an extreme. Like, he didn't script that I should call him a pathetic doughboy, but he let me,
Well, I'm curious. So one question I have about that sketch in specific was the car drive. Like, I guess, I don't know. I'm not a big film person. Like, I'm not an actor, terrible on camera, good on camera, but terrible from an acting perspective. Was the car driving by when you're like, hey, but was that scripted? Or I guess, how does that work? Or was that part of the sketch? How does that work?
That was another improvised moment. And that like, cause we were doing that at our friend Tyler's house. He has this like very pretty house across the street actually from East Lake. And so we set that up. Yeah. And this car drove by, and at one of the takes, I was just like, hey, Bill, as a joke. And then he's like, we were both like, that's so funny. We should both do it. And then go right back into it. So that was a fun collaborative kind of improv moment where I'm like, because these cars, they're not stopping for you. They don't care. They're like, just,
exactly.
So that was a fun improvised moment for sure.
So when you guys do, from like, obviously you've had very viral sketches, like I said, pick them off, whatever they be. I mean, like I'm a huge fan of your work. When you think of an idea, or let's say Aaron thinks of an idea, do you guys kind of know when one is going to do, let's say, better than the other, when one is like really, really going to pop off? How does that work from like when you guys are like a planning perspective?
That's a really great question and I would imagine that most content creators say this, is we think we can tell when some of them are going to be like gangbusters, be really big. I mean, I think with the Bryson one, we thought it would be big just because it was so topical.
Right.
We didn't think that anyone was touching on that quite yet. But then there's some where we'll like put so much time into it and it won't do as high as the others. And we're like, do we know anything? None of us know anything about it. So
for sure.
It depends. Sometimes we all will watch it, because we'll send the edits in the group chat and we're like, this is so good. This is going to go off. And we're fortunate that they all do relatively well. But sometimes we're always surprised by the ones that will go like mega, mega viral.
For sure. That's well. I mean, you're the viral consultant, right? Because there's a science to hacking the algo.
True.
It's all this stuff based on your video, right? No.
Hacking the algo.
How could the algo? We're going to get to that because, like I said, that I know we talked about it, that is one of the best pieces of content. I'm a huge fan of the DP World Tour and how they do their content, but we'll get into that. I want to touch a little bit on the group. I guess I know it's been 2 years. How have you guys evolved as you've gotten bigger in the content space? I know you guys have like 160,000 plus subscribers on YouTube, 400,000 followers on Instagram, and how have you guys evolved as a group has gotten bigger and you guys have gotten bigger sponsors and done bigger sketches? Talk to me a little bit about that.
I think the biggest thing is just I think more comfort in our voice.
Yeah.
Production value has gone up as well. We used to talk about how when we'd get together in the beginning, because, we're very fortunate that as we've grown, and built in with these sponsors, they're gives a little more space for production. And so early on, we talk about how sometimes we'd get up at the butt crack of dawn and go to a golf course because they let us go use the golf course before anyone get there. And we try and do 6 sketches, but now we'll do maybe less sketches in the same amount of time because we've upped the production. We're trying to add more VFX if we can, or fun different things, and kind of trying to push, the spectrum of what we can create. Because we're all artists prior to the golfing too. So we take a lot of pride in what we put out there. We want it to feel good. There's often times that we'll do sketches and they won't make them to Instagram because we're kind of especially Aaron, we're perfectionists. We want it to feel
I get that.
How we see it happening. So I think we always constantly feel like we're leveling up as years go on, which is really fun to be a part of. The early stuff is great too, but it's fun to see, I think, maybe the production value, which is fun. It's fun that as the team grows, the vision grows, and hopefully the landscape grows. And living the dream, dude.
No, I know for sure. I mean, you're living out every guy's dream, right? You get to travel the world, play cool golf courses, meet cool golf people. I know you guys have a deal with the Superstore. Which, speaking of that, when you guys were in Michigan, that PGA Superstore is not far from my house. But I think I was on my honeymoon when you guys were here. I think that was last summer. No. But I wanted to come meet you guys when you were here. So if you guys do ever come to the PGA Superstore here in Michigan, come shoot me a message. Would love to meet you guys. That was awesome.
I will.
So. Talk to me a little bit. Yeah, that's right. Go Lions. Speaking of, I know we have a bet that you were supposed to say something. I should have looked that up. That's on me.
I was supposed to just add that. I think I'm just trying to honor it. I said go Lions.
We'll take that. So for the guys who don't know, Hannah's a Minnesota Vikings fan. For the Week 18 game, that was a few weeks ago, and I'm still checked out of football after the Lions lost. I'm sure you feel the same way. But I didn't watch. I checked out the Super Bowl last night. But we had a bet that if the Vikings won, I was going to wear a Vikings shirt, and all I wanted from Hannah was just to say go Lions or something like that for when she came on. Obviously for me, I was just shooting my shot to try and get you on the channel at the time, but regardless, I'm happy. You've been a super cool guest, and thank you for coming on.
Of course, dude. Also, go Lions. I love the Lions. I think it's also...
I appreciate that. Sorry to interrupt the interview with Hannah. I just want to take a quick second to shout out our apparel sponsor here on the Scratch Golf Show, the Dynamite brands. I love these guys. It's a PGA Tour caddy-driven business. They make awesome headwear like this. Black, white options, different color sticks. Make sure you check them out. TheDynamiteBrands.com. The link will be in the description. Use code MARCO for 20% off your first time purchase. Subscribe to the channel. Now let's get back to the interview with Hannah.
I would think I was equally as heartbroken when y'all lost, when we lost, because I don't know. I just love the program. I love everyone that's on that squad. I have Jahmyr Gibbs on my fantasy team. Same, that's my guy.
It's my favorite player.
So when y'all lost, I felt that. I felt that hurt for you big time.
For sure. Talk me a little bit about some of the favorite content. For those who don't know, you've filmed a couple short sketches with Tiger Woods, which is pretty cool. You've done some stuff with Joel Damon. I guess I want to focus maybe a little bit on Tiger, but talk to me a little bit about how that was. Because you guys are with Bridgestone, correct? And I assume that's how you made the connection. But talk to me about filming with Tiger Woods and how cool that was, and maybe a outtake or a story that you could share on set would be cool. But let's start
for sure. That's still so we were so early in our, in the St. Andre world when Bridgestone reached out, honestly, to a point that we thought it might've been spam. I think Aaron got an email that was hey, do you want to shoot content with Tiger Woods? And we're like, this cannot be real. So the fact that we got to do that so soon and meet him, I mean, he is every bit as, intimidating as he is cool. Like he's just so effortlessly cool. We're all nervous and anxious. Like, what do you say to the person who's the best at it? But he really is also just so personable. He and I got to do a small spot 2 years ago, kind of doing talking about the ball. And he made like one minor flub on a line, saying the line. And he looks over to me and he's like, how do you do this? And I'm like, do what? What do you mean do what? And he's like, the lines. And I was like, in my brain, I didn't say this but I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, Tiger, how do you do anything that you do?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm a dumb golf idiot. Like I say words, that's it. Like you've won how many majors? Like the way that Tiger warms up is better than my golf game will ever be. So I'm sitting there being like, oh, so he is human. He had one small flub with the line. Cause I just think he's a perfectionist.
Oh, for sure.
When he has that, his brain's like, and it's so fun to see, like, even when he shows up to a shoot for a commercial, like his intentions are always like, I want to be the best at what I do. What are the lines I want to do? So even when he like has a small flub, he's like, how do you do this? And I'm like, this is the champion. This man is the champion in everything he does.
He's a true competitive sicko. Similar to like, I don't know how much you watch the West Management, but we saw Scotty like bang his bag and everyone's like, he's just like Tiger. These guys want to be the best. And like, I've had a couple PGA Tour guys on from the show. And I've made some relationships and like just talking to these guys, like all these guys are just competitive. Like, what about Joel Damon? Obviously he's grown a little bit since, the Netflix thing, but Joel's awesome. Been a huge fan of his for a long time. Yeah. Trying to get Gino on. He's hilarious. So talk to me a little about filming with Joel and what that was like on the kind of the longer form side.
Another person who is just it's so fun also, I think, about golf and to see the different types of players, right? Yeah. Like Joel is very serious about golf, but Joel doesn't seem to take himself as seriously, right? Which is kind of the perfect balance. Like you can be serious about your work and then also not be as serious about yourself. Like he's going to be the guy giving you shit. Like he was giving me so much shit when we were playing. Yeah. And if you watch the YouTube, at one point I looked to the camera and I'm like, what's his fucking deal? He is coming after me, Like he was just giving me, but I love that because I grew up with brothers, so I very much was like giving it back. But he's just the kind of guy, I would describe Joel Damon as the guy you just want to hang out with all the time. Like have
a beer with, I've heard that a lot,
Yeah, totally, and he is. Like we were on the last hole and he wanted to keep playing golf, so he was just like, let's just run another hole. Like he's just the man. Big Joel Damon fan. He can hang with the best of them. He is definitely the guy you want to have a beer with, which I think he could talk to a brick wall and have a blast, which is not easy to do. So I'm a huge Joel fan.
For sure. That's awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about, like I said, one of your favorite, I think one of the most viral pieces of content that's gone out. Like I know I told you, I thought that was hilarious, but the viral consultant video with the DP World Tour, in my opinion, not a shot at the PGA Tour, but it also kind of is. The DP World Tour does content 10x better than the PGA Tour will ever do content. Has always done it that way. I've always found their work to be really good because they lean into more the comedy side. They get the content, whether it be like, I don't know if you ever saw like the Angry Golfers one a few years ago with Tommy Fleetwood. Yeah. Like that was one of the funniest pieces of content. So talk to me a little bit about the viral consultant thing. How did that come to works? Do they reach out to you and then Aaron hooks it up, or who wrote the skit? And let's start there, and then we'll I have a ton of other questions, but let's start there and then we'll see where the conversation takes us.
For sure. A huge testament to collaboration, right? That entire thing was collaborative from the beginning to end. So we'd worked with the DP World Tour last year in Scotland. We did some content for them, and it ended up being the PGA Tour did a collab on it too for the Genesis Scottish Open. So we did some stuff with them. Their team is amazing. Jack Sutton, who's like the producer there, who's like so good, really gets it, has such a good sense of humor and such a good sense of the game. So he reached out to us about this initial concept. And so he kind of touched base with Aaron. Aaron called me, and we're both kind of like, obviously we're in. Right. But it wasn't a lot of time. I think it was like Aaron gave me the call, and he's like, we'd have to be in Dubai in like 3 to 4 weeks. So we're like, okay, cool. So we have a short amount of time. Yeah. Aaron and I sat down. They gave it, they kind of pitched the concept to us, and Aaron and I just back and forth were like, what are some jokes? We just started throwing everything at the wall. Like, we had a list of some of the golfers they thought we could get. So, we have someone like Tommy Fleetwood. And what's so fun with Aaron is like, we're both like, okay, what do we know about Tommy? Yeah. He's the nice guy. So great. What do we do with the nice guy? We got to give him a rivalry. And Aaron came up with a diss track, which is just so funny. And then I'm like, great. It's just that was Aaron's baby. He wanted it and they're so bad. And I'm so glad it made it because it was so good. But Yeah, after that, we threw some ideas to the DP World Tour. They loved them. And then I was really fortunate that Aaron kind of said, hey, can you write this? Put it on paper. Let's see what happens. And yeah, got to put the pen to paper, got to literally throw everything on paper. And then the DP World Tour meshed it up, took the things we wanted and didn't want. And we were able to come up with this like really concise piece. And it was awesome. But it is such a testament. Like that was like 100% collaborative. It would not have been the way it would have it had not been for Jack and the whole DP World Tour team and Aaron and myself. Everyone kind of inserting their own little spice on it. It was great.
So you wrote most of the material then, or I guess you and Aaron, but so you wrote all that stuff. That's awesome. So I mean, and I know we had to. So let me ask you this. So we had touched on, and this is more of a curious like about into your process of the writing side. But like when I messaged you, like I said, the Stanley in the director's chair, I thought played a really big role in the character. Like it just needed to be there. So like how much of that like do you pay attention to that small detail?
That one was very much in like so it was very fun. I want to take credit and say that like we planned out the Stanley from the beginning, but it was Jack the producer and I were at I think like Urban Outfitters picking out the sweatsuit because I wanted her to be in a sweatsuit so bad. I was like, she needs to be in a sweatsuit that feels very influencer. It needs to match. Like, it needs to be perfectly matched. I was like, she needs to be in a bucket hat. And as we were kind of walking around, we saw that giant Stanley, and we both, like, looked at each other, and we're like, she's got to have a Stanley.
Oh, yeah.
So that was kind of a fun in-the-moment, like, light bulb, almost like locking eyes, like, we gotta have this. And it was so fun because people really, one of my favorite comments on the video, someone was like, is it just me or is that Stanley Cup getting bigger every time it comes back? I was like, I think it might be. Yeah.
I'm glad I was the only one who knows. Cause like I said, you just like, I like doing my own content and like, obviously I don't do like comedy content, but I appreciate comedy. Like I grew up loving stand up. And so like from that perspective, but like doing my own content, I can appreciate like small details or like stuff that I feel like adds value to a video. So I love that. Talk to me like, so you guys filmed it. I forget what tournament it was. It's the DP World Tour event it was in Dubai. But how long do you guys show up? How long did that actually take to film everything? Like, was it a 1-2 day process? Are you limited because the players only have so much time? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It is limited. A lot of testament. We got there a couple days before. That first day that Aaron and I showed up, you know, that jet lag is so weird because it's almost a 20-hour flight. Yeah, it's huge. So that first day was kind of getting all the props, but then a huge testament to that team and us doing blocking. So we spent those first couple of days finding locations, going through the blocking because, you know, we get those golfers for such a short amount of time. Right. And I, you know, for people that maybe aren't in the film world, we got each golfer for 30 minutes, and you think that seems like a lot, but then you're like, you got to mic them, you got to pitch them the joke, you got to get them to like, can you memorize these lines real quick? So it goes by so fast, and you're like, okay, we only get a couple of tries to do this, and so at that point, it's just a huge testament to the golfers because that whole video would not have worked had they not all been so good. Because as a writer and a creator, you come up with these ideas. Like Aaron and I sit there, and in our brains, we can go, yeah, this is going to be seamless because we're reading the jokes in our head. But you can get there sometimes, and if someone doesn't maybe execute it the way you envisioned it, you're like, uh-oh. You know what I mean? So it's every single person I could not get over Matt Wallace, the way he delivered his line. That was just him. Like, he needed no coaching. Good. He did it so deadpan. And then the first take, I was like, I think we're good. And so it's a huge testament to these DP World Tours and these PGA Tour guys. They can act.
That's awesome. Yeah, the Matt Wallace, the John Cena one, like
he's like, I don't know what you mean. So good.
So if you're telling me that was the first take, that is truly impressive because like just the meme in itself, like the fact that showed up and it was just so good. Okay, so talk to me a little bit of how much went unshown or like how much went like unseen from that. Was it a lot of material, or I guess how much of that gets cut out to get it into like a 5-minute video, right? I mean,
initially the script started at like 11 pages. But we got most of it in there. You know, it's just you get all this time with players. There's probably like a couple jokes here and there that we ended up scrapping. Yeah. But for all of us, it was like, I think the goal was always somewhere between 5 and 6 minutes, which you're also scared about because the reality is like, when's the last time you saw a 5-minute sketch that you watched beginning to end on Instagram? and we've got 60-second brain now. So all of us being like,
literally,
we want to make a 5-minute sketch that can keep people's attention for 5 whole minutes. And so we're very fortunate that I'm just so grateful that people liked it because we were so excited about it.
Funny. Yeah.
But you're also scared that you're like, can I keep you for 5 minutes? I don't know, but
no, I looked at it. I mean, that did numbers. I mean, for me, I'm very small on Instagram. I got under 1,000 followers, whatever, and on YouTube. But like to see stuff like that, I'm sure that's like do you get like I asked Jan this, but do you get like a high from that? Like when you see something go viral, I wouldn't say is a high or a word, but like, do you like want to chase that, or how does that feeling work when you get something that is so good that you get such a good feedback or like reception from it from your fans or people who you're trying to bring in to grow your audience? Like, do you chase that, or how does that work from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Chase is an interesting word. It's definitely a high, but more, I think, just a validation. I think, as a writer and a comedian, you always want to be putting, stuff up on bigger platforms. So to get an opportunity at such a high level to put something out there that people like, for me as an artist, is just like, okay, that's so cool. Like, I'm so glad that people entrusted me with this. I hope people entrust me with more things like this in the future. But I think it's less about like, oh yeah, we went viral, and more just I'm like, oh, I'm so glad people resonated with the thing you wrote. You know what I mean? I think that's for me, it's very rewarding.
For sure. Especially like from your perspective, like you did a lot of the work and hard work. And I'm sure the work that people like, yes, people see the 5 minutes, but what people don't realize is the hours and hours or days or even, like you said, weeks of planning to get to this point. And so I'm sure, like you said, it's a validation to show, yes, like I don't want to say, yes, I am funny, but yes, like the hard work did pay off for this specific video or sketch. Talk to me a little bit about like the golfers. Cause like you said, those are so cool. You guys had some really funny, I feel like you really nailed it with the personalities you're able to get, like a Minwoo Lee or an Akshay. Tommy Fleetwood's very good on camera, and a lot of these guys who maybe get the content. But talk to me a little about working with the golfers. Is there any like cool stories you could share or like funny stories that you could share with working with some of these guys?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, they were so wonderful too. And like I said, continuing to go back to it being so collaborative, especially on their part, the fact that, these guys, they're being asked to do so many things. So to be like, hey, you want to be in this silly sketch about influencers? And the fact that they all showed up and said yes without like, literally, like they all showed up. They had so much energy. They were so fun. And, they're some of my favorite golfers. I'm a big Akshay girl. So meeting him, I was trying not to fangirl when he was there. I was just like, I have a job to do. But we had some funny stories. One of my favorites is like, we wanted to break the tension. Aaron had such a fun idea. We had that Rory, poster of like the glow up. So right as we're about to do that, Rory actually walks out from the gym and walks past us. And I'm like, does he know we're making a joke about him? But Aaron kind of leans over into my ear and he whispers, he's like, hey, say this on the next take. We won't be able to use it, but I think it'll break the tension. Cause it was like the first scene we're doing together. And so I was just like, okay. I was like, great, got it. And so I'm like, glow up is when you go from this, and I pull it off and I'm like, to this, hot, rich, fuckable. And like, they all just started like laughing. And I think it was just such a fun, like Aaron knew, like everyone knew, kind of throwing away a take that no one could use, but everyone just kind of laughed. And I was like, oh, this is what we need. And we need to break the ice. Everyone needs to know we're just having a good time. And so after that, it was like watching the guys kind of chill a little bit and like, okay, we're just having fun here. None of this is like, we're not saving lives. We're just trying to make some fun content. And from then on out, you could see their faces get a little more like Akshay even, he was probably the most nervous, but by the end, he did his line. He looks to camera and he's like, I know I nailed that. I'm like, you did, dude. Good job.
That's awesome.
It was so cute. They were so good.
Speaking of Rory, you had an interaction with him at Fellow Beach last week. How was that? Talk me through that. I meant to ask you about that when it brought up, but I'm glad it did because I'm curious how that went last week when you were on site.
It truly, if you watch that video, that was I don't even know how to put that. The fact that because he came around Pebble, he was just like practicing. And so we went to watch him, and when he looked at me and he was like, it's the viral consult. So he turned the corner. And he goes, oh, it's the viral consultant. Like my brain's like, you watched our dumb video? And then,
I love that.
And then after the starstruck, my brain goes, oh shit, you heard us make fun of you and our dumb video.
Right.
So then I'm like in my panic mode, I just am like, sorry about the joke, but also it wasn't that bad. And then he just was such a good sport about it. I don't know if you saw in the video. He's like, no, I appreciate the compliment. So Aaron gave me a hard time afterwards because if you watch, I post that video. I stop and turn after he says something, and I just go. And he's like, I can see your brain combusting because I'm just like, I just look off and I'm like, what just happened to me? That's Rory McIlroy. He just talked to me. So it was very cool.
How do you not, like, for me, like, doing what I'm doing, I've interviewed a ton of cool, good guys, Brian Bros, a lot of the guys I watch on YouTube. Like, how do you not, like, fangirl, or like for me, like, when I have George Bryan on, like, it's very hard for me not to, like, dude, I'm a huge fan of you. Or, like, how do you not fangirl? How do you not, more importantly, laugh? Like, because I feel like you have to know how funny you are. And, like, I think I'm the funniest person in my own head. So, like, how do you not laugh when you're doing stuff like this? Or, like, how do you not fan over these people if you get to act with some cool people like Tiger or Rory like that?
Yeah, well, two things. I do fangirl. I do, and I just internalize all of it all the time. Yeah. So I'm fangirling all the time. I also think it's good to be around very funny people because Aaron, I think, is the funniest person I know, one of them. Yeah. And that guy humbles me every other day. Like, I'll try and say something funny, and he'll just, like, insert himself, and I was like, he'll just, because I think it's good. If you're even a little bit funny, surround yourself with other funny people. I also have a lot of brothers, and they're all very funny, so I'm constantly in spaces where people are showing me that I'm actually not the funniest person in the room.
That's fair.
Which is good.
Cool. Well, Hannah, I have a couple more questions for you, rapid fires, and then I'll let you go because I know we're kind of at time here.
But I'm having so much fun.
I know. Hey, I am too. Open invite to come on whenever. I love doing stuff like this, the people I get to meet. Talk to me a little bit about some content you guys could. Is there anything you could tease, like content coming up that you maybe haven't released or is in the works? You don't have to give away too much, but I always like to ask. I'm going to post this next week. Probably. So just an FYI. But anything you want to share that you could tease coming down the pipe?
I mean, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, we just had a sketch shoot this week, so we'll have a bunch of new sketches coming out. That'll be great. Okay. I'm not entirely sure what's most immediate on the docket. We shot a bunch of stuff that we're always really excited about. I'm doing some stuff with TGL. So that'll be fun. We're working with the Atlanta Drive, so kind of doing some content around that. That's just also really fun for me. So I think I'm going down February 17th for the doubleheader between the Atlanta Drive. Yeah. So probably some content around that. The fun thing for me in that is some of the players that we've gotten to meet now. Like, I tell you, Marco, the highlight of my life, you want to talk about fangirling? I was at Pebble and, like, Tommy Fleetwood was walking to go somewhere. Yeah. And I wasn't paying attention or, like, look up and he's like, you're everywhere. And then he goes in to give me a hug. Like, we're friends. Like, we're boys. Yeah. I was like... I sat there being like, what is my life? Tommy Fleetwood just... Yeah, so if you ever wonder, I'm having these moments all the time. So I'm hoping that if I see him at TGL, maybe he'll give me another hug. I don't know.
I love that. I appreciate that so much because, like I said, it's the same for, like, you're a normal, like, people always ask, like, these influencers or whatever, like, you're just normal people who live normal lives. And it's so cool to hear that, like, you guys have the same moments for someone, like I said, for someone like me, like, when I get, like, a big guest, like, even for you, like, I'm super happy to have you on. Like, this is such a cool moment for me. Like, this is such a cool conversation. I told James, like, a long time ago when I had him on, I was like, all right, I'm going to try and get St. Andre on way back in the day. So I completely understand that you have these types of moments.
Yes.
Favorite golfer. So I'll do the rapid fires and I'll let you go because I know we only got a few minutes left. But favorite golfer.
Ooh, Sahith Theegala is a big one for me. I think he's a sweetie pie. I love him. Also really loving watching Akshay right now. I think his swing is so smooth. Yeah. He's so fun. I think he's going to be like a force over the next couple of years. So he's going to be fun to watch. And always Rory. I'm a classic Rory. You know what I mean? Like every time he wins, I'm happy for him. I'm like, I want this man to, have nothing but joy.
For sure. Favorite creator? Do you have one? Doesn't have to be golf related, but just in general, someone who's on the internet.
Who is my favorite creator? That's a good. Almost Friday TV is a really fun one. I don't know if you know them. Mm-hmm. They just do sketch stuff and they're very absurd and they tackle their take on comedy sometimes. I think that's what's exciting for me is seeing people that do different stuff. They're always so funny. There's a lot of great golf influencers I think are good too, but now I'm like, Brian Bros are so fun. I think they're so talented. Yeah, they're the best. They seem like sweetie pies. Bev Boys is a new guy coming up.
I love those guys. He's great. Those guys. Yeah.
Yes. I didn't get a chance to meet him, but sorry, I cut you off.
No. I just he was in Arizona. I wish I would have met him over. I just got back from Waste Management yesterday. But nice. He's one I would love to have on. He's hilarious. Yeah,
he's a sweetie pie too. Big fan of when he did that video about St. Andre. Are they taking your numbers? I'm like, that's so funny. He seems like a great dude. I haven't met him yet in person, but we're pen pals, and that's enough awesome. For me. For now, that's enough.
Funniest moment on camera.
Funniest moment on camera? Geez, you're asking very hard questions for a comedy channel. There's a lot of... I wouldn't say it's the funniest, but something I'll never forget is we did a video where Aaron surprised me on camera by telling me I was getting fitted for new clubs. Yeah. And that was such a speaking of PGA Tour Superstar, they fitted me for new clubs. Yeah. And that was just such a gesture, like such a kindness that I started crying on camera. You know what I mean? I was so overwhelmed. It wasn't funny, but it was funny because afterwards I was like, what the fuck, dude? We're about to do a video. I'm going to cry.
Right. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Well, Hannah, that's it for me. Thank you so much. I apologize for kind of being late and getting this started, but thank you so much for coming on.
Don't apologize.
This was awesome. And before we wrap up, I have a couple sponsors, but feel free to plug anything you want, any last minute messages, and then I will stop the recording and let you go. Thank you so much for coming on. This was super fun.
Of course. Only thing to plug is just is a thank you at this point. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for asking such fun questions. Thank you to anyone that sees this that's a fan of St. Andre. I know it sounds super cheesy, but like truly, I am the most grateful person that people like the content, that people like us. I truly feel like I'm living the dream. So thank you to anybody thank you to everyone that has shared our dumb little videos with their friends in a group chat. I'm so grateful.
For sure. Awesome. Well, guys, we'll make sure we link all the St. Andre stuff in the description, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure you follow, subscribe. If you're watching me and you're I'm much smaller, so assuming you are, but we'll link all that in the description, including Hannah's personal socials. Make sure you follow those. Hannah, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. That's our interview, guys. Hit the subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you.